Hi, my name is Rachel Paxton, and today I'm going to show you how to make homemade plum jelly. In this class, you'll learn how to make and can plum jelly. I'll lead you through the process step by step. I'll give you the recipe and the canning supply list that you can download and print out for your future reference. You'll find those in your course materials. You'll also gain the confidence you need to try more canning recipes on your own. For this recipe, you'll need 4 cups of chopped plums, a cup of bottled lemon juice, 7 cups of sugar, and a box of powdered pectin. You'll need a boiling water canner, a canning rack if you're using your own stock pot, a jar lifter, a wide mouth funnel, a jelly bag, and 3 to 4 pint canning jars, or 6 to 7 half-pint jars. To make jelly, you're going to need a boiling water canner. If you don't already have one, you can get one on Amazon for about $32. It comes with the accessories you need. You can also get them at Walmart. There's a link to this in the supply list in your course materials. And you can also use your own stock pot to can in. If you do use your own stock pot, you need to get a canning rack like this. They're about $10. There's also a link to this in your supply list. This comes with the boiling water canner, but if you're wanting to use your own stock pot, you need something like this in the bottom of the pot so that your jars don't touch the bottom of the pan. And you also need to make sure that your pan is tall enough that you have an inch of water above your jars. Your jar lifters for taking your jars in and out of the canner. Wide mouth funnel is so that you can get your food in your jars without getting food everywhere. The jelly bag is for straining the juice from your fruit, but I will show you a couple other ways to do it also. You want to fill your canner about 3/4 of full way with water and heat it to boiling. Sterilize your jars, rings, and lids in the dishwasher. If you don't have a dishwasher, you can boil them in water on the stove, but it's easier to do it in the dishwasher. Just make sure that your jars are hot when you're ready to put the jelly in them. You can reuse your jars in rings, but you need to have new lids every time, so make sure you have enough lids on hand. You want to wash and chop your plums. They do not need to be peeled. You just need to remove the pits. There's lots of different kinds of plums. So it doesn't really matter what kind of plums that you use. They might have slightly different flavors, but you can use any kind of plum. Place the chopped plums in a large saucepan. You want to cook them until they're soft, about 10 minutes or so. It helps if you put an inch of water in the bottom of the pan to keep them sticking to the pan. Next, you need to remove the juice from the plums to make the jelly. There's a couple different ways to do it. One of the ways is with a fine mesh strainer. This is just a strainer that you set on top of your bowl, and you put your fruit in the strainer and the juice drips out the bottom. It just sits on top of your bowl. There's a link to this in your supply list. These aren't very expensive and it has a lot of different uses. You can also use a jelly bag. The jelly bag sits on top of your bowl and the juice drips out of the jelly bag. If you squeeze the jelly bag to make the juice come out faster, you also are going to get a little tiny bit of the pulp. Not very much. You won't get any peels or big chunks or anything like that, but if you want a really, really clear jelly, you just need to let the liquid drip out the bottom all on its own. It can take hours to do that, and I'm not that patient, so if you don't mind if your jelly is just a little bit cloudy, which I didn't mind, then you can squeeze it to make it go a little bit faster. And the other ways that you can do this are, some people will place a colander in a bowl and then place a double layer of cheesecloth in the colander, and then if you put your fruit in the cheesecloth, then your juice will drip out the bottom just like with the jelly bag. So that's another inexpensive way to do it if you don't want to get a jelly bag. And some people even use flour sack dish towels as a strainer. You can put that in a colander too and let your fruit sit in there and let the juice drip out. But that would also stain your towels. Maybe not so much with plums, but with other fruits such as blackberries, it would really stain your towel. So it's up to you the way you want to do it. And you just need to get the juice out of your fruit. For this recipe, you need 5 cups of juice. So if you don't have quite enough juice, it's okay to add a little bit of water. You don't want to use too much juice. It's important to have exactly 5 cups of liquid, or it will affect whether your recipe gels or not. Place your plum juice in your stock pot and add your pectin. I like to use these jars of pectin where it's a little bit less expensive to buy it in bulk this way. This jar of pectin makes quite a few batches of jam. I just measure 6 tablespoons out for every box, but you can use a single serving box also. Stir your pectin into your plum juice and then bring it to a boil. You want it to start boiling so that when you stir it, it doesn't stop boiling. Add a pinch of butter to help reduce the foaming. It will still foam a little bit, but not quite as much if you put butter in it. After it starts boiling, you want to pour the sugar in all at one time. You always want to measure all your sugar ahead of time. Don't measure your sugar into the pan by individual cups, or you might lose count of how much sugar you've put in. So it's a good idea to have it all measured and pour it in. You want to heat the jelly to boiling again so that it cannot be stirred down again, and boil it for 1 minute. At this point, there still might be a little bit of foam on the jelly. The foam's not going to hurt anything. If you were to put it in your jars, you could still eat it. It would still be safe to eat. It's just not very pretty looking, so use a metal spoon to skim off any foam. Ladle your jelly into your sterilized jars, leaving a 1/4 inch headspace. The headspace is the amount of space between the top of the jelly and the top of the jar. Your food will expand when it's being heated in the boiling water canner, so it's important to leave space for it to expand. Jelly doesn't expand very much, that's why you only need a 1/4 inch. Wipe the rims of your jars with a damp paper towel to make sure you get a good seal on your jars, and put the lids and rings on the jars finger tight. Process your jars in the boiling water canner for 10 minutes. You want to make sure there's an inch of water above your jars. If there's not enough water, you can add more water. Just start the timer when it starts boiling. If you live above 1,000 feet in elevation, you will need to process for a longer amount of time. So check your altitude adjustment chart in your course materials. Make sure you're processing for the correct amount of time. Use a jar lifter to remove your jars from the canner after the time's up. Put them on a towel on the kitchen counter to cool. Jelly takes a while to set up, so you don't want to move it while it's cooling, or it might not set up for you. So just let it sit there. Don't turn it upside down or anything until it's completely cooled off. When the jars seal, you should hear a pinging noise. Jars usually seal in the canner, but it can take 10 to 15 minutes after you remove them from the canner to seal. So be patient, and you can tell if it's sealed or not by pushing your finger down in the middle of the lid. And if it goes down and up again, then it is not sealed. And if it's not sealed, it's okay. You can still eat it in the next couple of weeks. But your sealed jars you can store in a dark, cool area for 1 to 2 years or more. This jelly is really good. We've tried plum jam and plum jelly, and my family seems to like the plum jelly better. They didn't really like the chunks of plums in the plum jam. This is a nice, light, sweet jelly with a good plum flavor. It's going to make a good Christmas present. So this is definitely a keeper. You'll have to give it a try and see what you think.